Walk through New York today. Clean, polished, safe. But 50 years ago? These same streets told a different story. The city in the 1970s was raw, dangerous, bankrupt, and absolutely alive. 10 streets defined that era. Each street whispered rebellion and hidden secrets. Some were demolished, others sanitized. A few just disappeared. And the 10th? It gave birth to a revolution that changed the world. But New York almost let it die in the rubble. It's the 1970s, Times Square. The lights never stopped flashing. Red, blue, gold. Neon signs advertising things you can't say out loud. But beneath the glow, darkness. Peep shows line the blocks. Adult theaters pack the corners. Street hustlers work every angle. Tourists stumble through. Locals avoid it completely. This isn't the family-friendly spectacle you see today. This is DK wearing a costume. The city calls it urban blight. The hustlers? They call it home. Police sirens mix with taxi horns. Every block smells like garbage and desperation. Times Square in the 70s isn't just seedy. It's a symptom of a city that's losing control, and nobody knows how to fix it, so they just let it burn. The year is 1973. Bowery. CBGB opens its doors. The street is a wasteland. Flop houses, liquor stores, pawn shops lined up like tombstones. Homeless veterans sleep in doorways. The city has written this place off. But inside a tiny club with a torn awning, revolution. The Ramones, Blondie, Talking Heads. Punk rock explodes from the wreckage. What looks like an urban wasteland is actually cultural birth. Artists flood in, not for comfort, for freedom. Rent is cheap. Expectations are zero. Anything is possible. The Bowery teaches New York a lesson. Some of the city's best art comes from its worst neighborhoods. August 11th, 1973, 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. The Bronx. A rec room and a housing project. A Jamaican teenager named Clive Campbell sets up his turntables. Back to school party. Nothing special. Except DJ Kool Herc isolates the breaks, loops the beats, creates something new. Hip-hop is born. Right here. In a borough the city forgot. The Bronx is burning. Literally. Arson ravages the neighborhoods. Buildings collapse. Unemployment crushes families. But from the ashes, culture explodes. Sedgwick Avenue becomes holy ground. The birthplace of a movement that will reshape music, fashion, identity across the globe. The city almost let it crumble. Almost let it burn. They didn't know what they were trying to destroy. 3 streets down. 3 revolutions born from decay. But the 1970s didn't just create new culture. It erased old worlds. Some neighborhoods were transformed. Others were buried alive. And what replaced them? That's where the story gets darker. The year is 1970. Christopher Street. 1 year after Stonewall, the riots are over. The police are gone. But the fight just started. This street becomes a beacon. Gay bars, bookstores, community centers. People who lived in hiding now walk in daylight. Drag queens, activists, lovers holding hands in public for the first time. The city that tried to silence them? It's watching, wary, threatened. But Christopher Street doesn't ask for permission anymore. It takes space, claims ground, refuses to disappear. This isn't just political. It's personal. It's joy weaponized against oppression. In a hostile city, this street offers something rare. Safety, identity, pride. The village vibe protects. Poets, outcasts, they all converge here. Christopher Street in the 70s isn't just a neighborhood. It's a declaration of war against invisibility. Mid-1970s. SoHo, West Broadway. Cast iron buildings stand empty. Former factories. Abandoned warehouses. The manufacturing jobs are gone. But artists see something else. Space, light, cheap rent. They invade. Illegally at first. Living in buildings zoned for industry. Painters, sculptors, dancers, musicians. They flood the lofts. Massive windows. High ceilings. Gallery space disguised as living space. SoHo becomes the epicenter of New York's underground art world. West Broadway is its spine. No pretense, no polish. Exhibits spill into the streets. Performance art happens in empty loading docks. This is anti-commercial, anti-mainstream, beautifully chaotic. But developers are watching, smelling money. In the 70s, it still belongs to the creators, the rebels, the artists willing to live in illegal lofts. Soon, they'll be priced out. But for now, this is their kingdom. 1970s, Harlem, 125th Street. The Apollo Theater marquee glows. Inside, future legends perform. Tough crowd, unforgiving audience. But step outside, different story. Jobs are gone. Buildings are crumbling. Poverty shadows every block. The city has turned its back on Harlem again. Yet 125th Street refuses to die. Black-owned businesses line the street. Barber shops, beauty salons, soul food joints. Street vendors sell vinyl records, incense, African art. The hustle never stops. Activist groups gather here. Artists paint murals. Culture becomes both shield and weapon against systemic erasure. This street buzzes with resilience, with pride, with refusal. Harlem isn't just struggling, it's surviving. And that survival is an act of rebellion. 125th Street in the 70s is more than geography. It's identity, it's resistance. The city can neglect it, but it can't kill it. 1970s, East Village, St. Mark's Place. Leather jackets, safety pins, graffiti walls. Dive bars packed at 2 a.m. This is punk's ground zero. Poetry's testing ground. Rebellion's headquarters. CBGB is blocks away. The Poetry Project at St. Mark's Church is closer. Every night, culture collides. Punks, rebellious thinkers, struggling artists. You want to hear the next big band? Come here. You want to get screamed at by a street poet? This is the place. It's loud, unpredictable, sometimes dangerous, but it's magnetic. The East Village doesn't try to impress. It challenges, provokes, inspires. St. Mark's in the 70s is a laboratory, exploring life without rules and expectations. The experiments are messy, brilliant, sometimes both. This street doesn't ask the city for anything. It takes what it needs and creates the rest. But the 1970s also had its illusions. Streets that looked powerful but were crumbling inside. Wealth, stability, control, all of it resting on a foundation of sand. Mid-1970s, Wall Street, financial district. The suits still walk fast. Briefcases, polished shoes, corporate towers reaching for the sky. But the swagger is gone. Vietnam, oil crisis, inflation crushing the economy. New York teetering on bankruptcy. Wall Street, the symbol of American capitalism, is sweating. Behind closed doors, panic, uncertainty. The old rules don't work anymore. But something else is brewing. Quiet reinvention. Deregulation talks. Technology slowly creeping in. The 70s Wall Street isn't the powerhouse it will become. It's in transition. Vulnerable. The canyon of buildings feels heavier. Like the city's financial soul is holding its breath. Waiting for rebirth or collapse. In the 70s, nobody knows which one is coming. 1970s, Chinatown, Canal Street. The city is collapsing, but not here. Canal Street pulses. Vendors everywhere. Knockoff watches. Herbal remedies. Electronics. Fish markets. Dumplings steaming. Dried fish hanging. The sidewalks never stop moving. While Manhattan struggles with bankruptcy, Chinatown survives through community. Families stick together, support each other, keep businesses alive through sheer will. The chaos is the charm. No polish, no pretense, just survival. The immigration story in its rawest form. Building something from nothing. In a language the city doesn't speak. Canal Street in the 70s showed resilience. Not wealth, not prestige, just refusal to quit. The community doesn't ask the city for help. They create their own economy, their own rules, and they outlast the crisis. 1970s, Union Square, East 14th Street. Before the park was cleaned up, before the chain stores moved in, this square belonged to dissent, anti-war protests, labor rallies, civil rights demonstrations. Every movement with a message came here. This is New York's megaphone. Loud, unpolished, fiercely democratic. Artists and activists collide. Students hand out flyers. The surrounding blocks are rough. The subway is dangerous. But Union Square remains a convergence point. Anyone with a cause can speak up. Anyone with rage can scream it. In a city on the edge of collapse, 14th Street is its exposed nerve. Union Square in the 70s isn't about comfort. It's about voice. And in a decade when New York is falling apart, that voice refuses to be silenced. So here's the truth about 1970s New York. The city was dying. Bankrupt, burning, falling apart. But from that death, life exploded. Hip-hop, punk rock, LGBTQ pride, underground art, immigrant survival. Every revolution, every movement, every cultural earthquake that still shapes us today, born in the ruins. The streets we just walked through, they weren't safe. They weren't clean. They weren't pretty. But they were real. And the city that tried to erase them, it created something it could never control. The question isn't whether New York lost its soul in the cleanup. The question is, what will we create from the ruins we're building right now? 10 streets, 10 stories. One decade that rewrote New York. Some were demolished, others sanitized. A few survive in fragments, but they all taught the same lesson. The city doesn't preserve its grit. It buries it. And what rises from that burial? Sometimes better, sometimes worse, always different. So the next time you walk through Times Square's LED billboards or SoHo's designer boutiques, remember what stood there before. Not just buildings, but revolutions. You're not walking on solid ground. You're walking on buried history, on secrets, on culture the city tried to erase. Like New York history? Check out my merch inspired by the streets that shaped the city. Link in the comments. Like this video and subscribe for more stories New York tried to bury. And if you thought the 70s were dark, wait until you hear this next story.